Hello, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about effective feedback. So, why is this so important? Because if you can give good feedback, it will improve your relationships with others, it will improve your teamwork, and ultimately, it will make you a better leader. So let's jump in. We'll start with what makes for effective feedback. Number 1, it needs to be timely. You do not want to wait too long to give somebody feedback because then they forget what they did wrong, and then it becomes less impactful. On the other hand, you also don't want to give feedback in the heat of the moment. Take some time to cool off if you need to, and then give that feedback when they are ready to listen. No. 2. Effective feedback is specific. When you're giving feedback, you want to talk about one thing at a time. So maybe there are multiple things that you could have said that person do better, but pick one and focus on that. You also want to be very descriptive in your feedback so that they understand exactly what it is you're talking about. For example, instead of saying, "You're a bad listener," say something like, "I noticed that earlier when I was talking about X, you were tapping your foot and looking at your phone. It would really help me if you put your phone away and look at me when I'm talking." That way you're being very specific about what it is you're talking about. And therefore, it's more likely that they will take what you're saying to heart and actually change their behavior. And this brings me to my next point, which is that effective feedback is behavioral. So, while it might be tempting when you're giving feedback to go for the jugular and attack somebody's character or personality, it's much better to focus on specific behaviors that you'd like them to change. This is especially true in a professional environment where people can become very defensive. If you come at them by attacking their character, all they're going to do is dig in their heels and refuse to budge. But if you come at them from a place of trying to help them improve professionally, then they're much more likely to be open to your feedback. There's also research to back this up. A study published in the Harvard Business Review found that feedback about performance is most effective when it's focused on specific behaviors rather than on general traits or characteristics. The researchers found that feedback that focuses on behaviors leads to better performance, whereas feedback that focuses on traits does not. So, bottom line, if you want to give effective feedback, focus on behaviors, not on personality. My fourth tip for giving great feedback is to sandwich it. Now, this doesn't mean give them a big old helping of feedback with a little bit of love on the side. What I mean by sandwich is that you want to give the negative feedback in between two pieces of positive feedback. Start off by telling them something positive about something they did well, then tell them the things that you'd like to see them improve upon, and then finish off by telling them another thing that they did well. This way, they are more likely to be receptive to the negative feedback, and also it shows that you're not just trying to nitpick and find everything wrong with them. You genuinely appreciate the things that they do well, and you're only pointing out these other things because you want to see them improve. Okay, now that we know what makes for effective feedback, let's talk about how to apply this in a real-world situation. We'll start with an example. Let's say that you work with somebody who is constantly late. They're late to meetings, they're late to projects, they're late on assignments. What do you do? Well, first of all, you're going to want to consider whether or not you actually have the authority to address this issue. If you don't, then you may need to speak to HR or your manager before you say anything to this person. Assuming that you do have the authority to deal with this, the first thing you're going to want to do is talk to the person in private. You never want to humiliate someone by giving them feedback in front of others. And generally speaking, it's best to save your feedback for one-on-one settings. So take the person aside and let them know you'd like to talk to them about something. Then you're going to start with the positive. Maybe this person does a great job on their assignments, or maybe they're always willing to help out new team members. Then you're going to deliver your negative feedback. Be specific about what it is you're talking about and explain why it's a problem. For example, "I've noticed that you've been late to the last 3 project deadlines. It's really important that we get these projects done on time so that we don't disappoint our clients." Finally, end on a positive note by reiterating that you appreciate everything else they bring to the table, and you just want to see improvement in this area. If that doesn't work, you may need to escalate the issue to your manager or HR. Now, I want to take a minute to address a question that I often hear come up when talking about feedback, which is, what about accepting feedback? Is it rude to ask for feedback? And the answer is no, it is not rude to ask for feedback. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Asking for feedback shows that you're self-aware, you're humble, and you're committed to improving yourself. So if you feel like you could benefit from some feedback, don't be afraid to ask for it. Just be sure to follow these tips when you're giving feedback to others, and you'll be well on your way to becoming a better communicator and a better leader. So I want to turn it over to you. What's your best piece of feedback? Ever received or ever given? Share in the comments below. And if you enjoyed today's video, please be sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to our channel for more content. Thanks for watching. See you next time.